The mullahs are murdering their own people by the thousands while racing to build nuclear bombs they've promised to use on Israel. 6,800 are dead. That's why 51,000 are already in prison. The cost of action is high, I grant you that. The cost of inaction is catastrophic. Picture the scene in Muscat, Oman, last Friday. American and Iranian diplomats are sitting in separate rooms. An Omani foreign minister is shuttling between the two rooms with messages. Hours of talks, and in the end, nothing. Just an agreement to consult with their capitals. And meanwhile, back in Iran, 6,800 protesters lie dead. The regime went house to house, arresting dissidents. They shut down 99% of the internet, and they're threatening mass executions of the 51,000 they've already arrested. It isn't just another Middle East crisis, patriots. The mullahs are murdering their own people by the thousands while racing to build nuclear bombs they've promised to use on Israel and on us if they can. How much longer do we have to watch this? How much longer do we have to endure this? Welcome, patriots, to Common Sense for America. I'm Bruce Rutherford, coming to you from the beautiful Westwood Golf Club in Houston, Texas. Today we're examining what America should do about Iran. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button and subscribe. Now let's dive in. The Iranian regime is collapsing right now as we speak, and we have a choice to help the Iranian people finish what they've already started or watch thousands more die while nuclear weapons fall into the hands of whoever grabs power in the chaos. When I say nuclear weapons, I really mean enhanced plutonium. I don't think they've got a weapon yet, but they're working on it. Let me show you the numbers. The Iranian rial has lost 97% of its value. A dollar that cost 42,000 rials now costs 1.5 million rials. Inflation is running at 60%. Food inflation is even worse at over 70%. A tray of 30 eggs that cost 112,000 rials in January now costs 600,000 rials. People cannot afford to eat eggs. The regime is broke. Sanctions have cut their oil sales by 60%. They're printing money to survive. That just makes their inflation worse. They can't fix their water problems. Tehran might have to be evacuated for lack of water. And the Iranian people, they've had enough. That's why 6,800 are dead. That's why 51,000 are already in prison. Now, the mullahs know their time is running out. They know they're running out of space there. Now, some will say to me, Bruce, what about Afghanistan? What about Iraq? Well, let me be crystal clear. Those were stable dictatorships where we tried to build democracy from scratch. 20 years, $2.3 trillion, over 6,000 American lives. I know the costs, but Iran today is fundamentally different. The regime is already collapsing. The people are already fighting. 6,800 dead in the streets, demanding freedom. We're not imposing change. We're helping them finish what they have already started. Let me tell you about George Washington in his farewell address. Now, he warned, "It is our true policy to steer clear of permanent alliances with any portion of the foreign world." Thomas Jefferson said, "Peace, commerce, and honest friendship with all nations, entangling alliances with none." Now, at that time, Washington and Jefferson enjoyed the protection of the Atlantic Ocean to protect them from European conflicts and intrigue. They were concerned about protecting a relatively weak America. And they were absolutely right in their time. But let me tell you what else Washington and Jefferson believed. They believed in defending liberty. They believed that sometimes you must act decisively. You must act against threats to freedom. Now, this regime declared death to America and is building nuclear weapons to make good on that threat. I remind you, Jefferson also said, "The tree of liberty must occasionally be watered with the blood of patriots and tyrants." Iran is now ready to rid itself from its tyrants. This is not nation building. This is not occupation. This is self-defense and helping those fighting tyranny. That's exactly what our founders did. They fought tyranny. Here's my solution. With our Israeli and European allies, we render Iran electronically deaf, dumb, and blind. We did this successfully during the joint strikes last June. Then we systematically destroyed their capabilities to wage war. First, their missile arsenals. Thousands of missiles that can reach Israel and American bases, gone. Second, their Air Force. It's only 250 aging aircraft, mostly from before 1979. We eliminate them. Third, their drone production. Iran supplies Russia with drones. They're being used against the Ukraine. They supply Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis. We shut that down. Fourth, we destroy their navy so they cannot harass shipping and confiscate tankers in the Red Sea and the Straits of Hormuz. Fifth, we destroy the Iranian Republican Guard's heavy weapons, tanks, artillery, that sort of thing, so that the IRG cannot use them against the people of Iran. Then comes the critical part. We target the leadership buildings of the secret police and the Revolutionary Guard. We're going after the commanders who ordered the massacre of 6,800 protesters. Now, through intermediaries, we tell them, flee immediately or be hunted down. If some want to change sides, we will receive them with great care and skepticism. Now, I know some of you are saying, we're above such tactics, but these are murderers who understand nothing but force. To win, we must be ruthless. Now, with the security forces neutralized, we invite the mullahs to resign and go into exile. Their alternative is death at the hands of the mob. They've oppressed these people for 45 years, and the mob will react as they did with Gaddafi, as they did with Mussolini, and so on. Now, once Iran is freed, we immediately support free elections. We and our allies will use what we have chosen to leave of the Iranian army to guarantee the safety and honesty of the elections. Sanctions will be lifted. We'll help solve their water crisis. We'll help rebuild their economy. The new Iran will recognize Israel's right to exist, and Iran's proxy armies, without support, will die and wither on the vine. A whole new era of Mideast peace will begin. What an achievement. Now, here's why we must act now. The window's closing. If we don't act, one of two things will happen. Either the Iranians will crush the opposition and continue to try to build nuclear weapons, or the regime will collapse into chaos, and their enhanced plutonium ends up in the hands of who knows who, and during that civil war, the Iranian people continue to be abused, murdered, imprisoned. Their economy has already collapsed. The Revolutionary Guard is hated. Even Supreme Leader Khomeini admitted the protesters' demands are completely fair before he ordered them shot. Look at what just happened. In those Oman talks, the Iranians refused to discuss their missile program, refused to discuss their proxy armies, refused to discuss the 6,800 dead protesters. They only wanted to talk about getting sanctions relief. And they do all of this while they keep trying to build a nuclear weapon. Now, how's that working? It's not working. The U.S. responded by imposing new sanctions on 14 more Iranian oil tankers and shipping lines. The USS Abraham Lincoln carrier group, it's a giant task force, sits off their coast. The CENTCOM commander, the commander of all forces in that area of the world for the United States, showed up in military uniform as a message. And what did Iran do? They deployed their newest ballistic missiles and threatened retaliation. They're stalling while they murder and build bombs. We cannot let them get away with this. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard has 190,000 personnel. They also control the Bashim militia with up to 1 million volunteers. These are the forces that killed 6,800 protesters. Now, the EU just declared and designated both of them as terrorist organizations on January 29th. The UK is following. Why? Because that's exactly what they are. They are terrorist organizations with an army. Render them impotent, and the mullahs will flee for their lives. Some will call this warmongering. They'll call what I say warmongering. They'll say the cost is too high. I answer, how many have already died? 6,800 in 1 month alone. How many more will die if we do nothing? How many Israelis when Iran finally gets a bomb? How many Americans when their proxies strike? How many Iranians crushed for another 45 years? We have before us a unique opportunity to solve the Iranian problem once and for all, to eliminate a regime funding terrorism worldwide, to prevent nuclear weapons from reaching madmen. These are madmen who chant death to America. We have a chance to help 85 million Iranians achieve the freedom they're dying for. The cost of action is high, I grant you that. The cost of inaction is catastrophic. I'm not asking you to agree with me. Some of you will say, America cannot be the aggressor. You'll ask, how many must die for our principles? And I respond and say, how many thousands, how many hundreds of thousands over the next 5 years must die for our isolationist principles? Now is the time to settle this once and for all. Now think about it. Discuss with your friends and colleagues. What would you do? What should America do? Tell us in the comments section your thoughts. Your thoughts really matter to us. And I hope you will join us next week. We will examine constitutional amendments that we need to form a more perfect union. Until then, think clearly, study history, use your common sense, and until then, God bless you and yours, and God bless America.